a bit of tough timekeeping. So interestingly, the headline of this talk was basically something like online versus offline. When I listen to you, that obviously is not the question. It's more a clear tendency for convergency of that the two merge at the end. You are consulting retailers. We've seen Porsche, we've seen others. May I invite two guys, I would have about said, Christina and Henry, please to the stage. They are not retailers, so they operate power centers and shopping centers. They will briefly introduce themselves, maybe give a first comment on what you've seen. And yeah, we have something also to be watched. Henry, you kick it when you want. Christina.
Thank you. My name is Kötter Hager. I'm managing director at Redos Group. So we are mainly investing in retail big boxes, what you call it, superstores in Germany. Yes, I'm heading there on the shopping center asset management business. So therefore, I'm the one between the management company on site and the investing side. And maybe I think the main advantage, or my question to you would be, well, come to us. I think the channel would be through the retailer then. We have no retailer on the board, but nevertheless, yes, do you have any retailer working together with who's only part of a shopping center?
Yes, hello. My name is Henrie Kötter. I am the Chief Investment Officer at ECE. ECE is a shopping center company. We manage about 200 shopping malls, enclosed malls in 11 countries. And that is about an asset volume of roughly 33 billion euros.
So, and I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Martin. I'm actually running an office development and workplace company, so I better would have fitted to the other panel. But obviously, I'm a big retail expert, having worked a couple of years in also a shopping center manager.
Don't be shy, you can tell that is ECE.
Oh, it was ECE. Oh, sorry, yeah. It was this company, actually. And I remember, Henry, maybe the first one to you. I remember, the digitalization coming up, and we were talking in board meetings. Okay, what can we do? Is there something that we basically should monitor, or what can we do about it? And first ideas were maybe more into more efficiently managed buildings, more on the B2B side, operations. But obviously this customer, the customer relation, and a normal shopping center or a good one has what, 30,000 people every day? Each of them is a customer, and the longer they stay and the more they shop, the better it is, of course. So maybe you tell us a bit about the development, and specifically in the last years, and even more interesting, where do you see your market in like 10 years?
Yes, so the shopping center industry has gone through a tremendous period of change, and that has to do with retail going such a tremendous period of change. Now, many people think that is a phenomenon that has to do simply with e-commerce, and that's not the case. Retailers are subject to so many challenges. I think if they had only one problem, they probably would have figured it out by now. So e-commerce isn't the only topic on their agenda. They are faced with a lot of different challenges. They have gone through a period of very rapid expansion. They have a store network of different sizes, different formats, different locations. It basically looks like a zoo. Yeah, they have very capable vertically integrated competitors which come to their market, and if you look at the likes of Inditex, they're just fantastic at everything. Be it visual merchandising, be it store selection, be it production, be it marketing, be it location strategy, back-end integration, cash management, visual merchandising, you name it, they're fantastic at it. Yeah, so you have very capable competitors. You are faced with value retailers like Primark, which offer the same kind of merchandise at a fraction of the price. So that is your world as a retailer. And at the same time, you're looking at the shopping center industry and think like, oh my God, do I want to work there? Is that is that an attractive place, or am I just buying a ticket for the Titanic? Now, you'll not be surprised to hear that I am actually quite optimistic about the shopping center industry, and that's why because I think that it's not simply a place where you go to buy products. I think the shopping center can be much more. and we have discussed amongst us in the group a little in advance.
Like a logistics center.
For instance, and probably just to wrap it up in 2-3 minutes, I can show you a little movie that basically outlines our vision of what a shopping center in 2025 can look like. And if I could ask the colleagues to start that movie, that'd be great.
Shopping centers, places of inspiration for coming together of endless varieties of brands and products. An idea that has conquered the world. Shopping centers are the urban marketplaces of today. But what will the customer journey of the future look like? Looking for a product, the customer will start in the digital mall. Check the availability. Communicate with virtual assistants. They can reserve the product for their later shopping tour, or they have it sent to their home. At the same time, online retailers give their same-hour delivery orders to our retailers in the centers. The shopping mall will become a commercial and logistics center. Barriers are so 2017. Drivers of autonomous cars can leave their vehicles at special stop and shop zones directly in front of the center. Our car park of the future identifies the car and automatically leads it to the next free parking space. In the center, the customer navigates with the digital map projected onto his glasses. According to his profile, we will call his attention to customize special offers. Digital walls and shop windows will create fascinating new stagings every day. Trendy restaurants, individual pop-up stores, renowned brands, and co-working spaces will complete the merchandise mix. Car dealers have moved from industrial areas into the mall. With 3D printing and tailor-made textiles, the shopping center will even become a production facility. International brands will take advantage of our scope to stage new worlds. Entertainment and marketing will merge. But also, behind the scenes, the future will look different. Each center has a digital twin in 3D, where all information comes together. With indoor heat maps, we can track all customer movements and identify their needs. Forecast schemes allow us an efficient regulation of the facility management, and for our retailers, also an accurately fitting manpower planning. Yes, the future will be different. But the ECE shopping centers will always be places of inspiration and for coming together. Much more than just places for shopping. We create the urban marketplaces of the future.
Sorry for the bit of marketing.
Yeah, I think others do this as well, I guess. If you see this, I saw you like nodding a couple of times. You saw some examples that came in your talk. So is that for you something where you see it's 2025 or actually technologically viable today?
I think we're a lot closer to this, and I think that the good news is that people and organizations realize there's a need for change, and they realize we need to repurpose existing buildings that we currently have in place. And we've now got the technology to add to that. I think that one of the frustrations in the previous panel, they talk about something as basic, but it's still not, as internet access. And having the right level of internet access, and whose responsibility is that to provide that. Some of the shopping centres we've worked with in the UK, unfortunately, they're very beautiful shopping centres, but the internet access provided for the stores in there were typically designed for customers to go in and perform light browsing. They didn't expect customers to go in and need a high volume of data and to want to go in and really browse the net. Now you've got all shops using point-of-sale systems, EPOS systems, and it's the backbone of their infrastructure is to have a stable internet connection. So that's one example of where as long as we've got the right technology infrastructure in place, that the malls and other types of buildings can be repurposed. And I think we go back to the fact, and what I really like about the video is the fact it was the closing title where it says an urban marketplace. I think we use technology a lot, and we talk about driving the most cost-efficient way of conducting business and always looking at the bottom line. But we have to remember that we are all still human, and we have some fundamental needs around us. We like people, generally speaking. We like to engage. We like to talk to others. We like to get people's opinions. If it was just down to me and I never went into a store, I would always be wearing the same clothes every day. But I go into a store, I speak to someone, I get their opinion, and they can influence my decision. When I go to a mall, I like to go there. I like to eat there as well. It's more of a day out. It's an experience. Some malls offer the facilities to look after children as a creche at the same time. They offer facilities you can go to the gym at the mall at the same time. There's many different aspects of shopping that come from being in a mall. And I think what we're now seeing is operators such as yourself that are embracing technology and understand the need to embrace the technology and repurpose the mall in order to keep it future-proof, if you like.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think the main thing, what we also saw in the film is, first of all, it's all about footfall. What we all need is footfall in the center, and as long as rent is paid by turnover, we need footfall, of course. I think there's one second really important thing what we have to face is that we are changing a much more gastronomy. So we need it as a meeting place, as you said, Henrie, to get the people in, to stay there, of course, to buy something. That's also what we need. And I think, therefore, this is the main challenge for us on the investing side is know your client. Who's the client? Because the onliner knows much more of the client than we do on the investment side. Of course, hopefully, the retailer knows something about the client and think this is the main challenge for all of us in the investment.
Yeah, maybe a good point, because we identified that the retailer maybe should be sitting here. As an asset manager, that's one of your main tasks, to speak to, of course, your investor. That's one, but to generate your lease, you talk to retailers. How do you see the world of the retailers? Is it like Henrie says, okay, Inditex, they're all great, but in a normal shopping center you have what, 80 parties, tenants, something like that, maybe more, maybe less. You have maybe a bit less in your centers. How do they approach your office and say, hey, Ms. Hager, we have to do something about our space, about your center?
Yes, of course, they reach out to us, because the main challenge is about the size of the store, of course. The second issue about the rent, the fixed rent and turnover-related rent. So that's the main issue. So what we need to talk to the retailers is not even if they are online or offline. The main challenge is to be in line with the consumer. So therefore, what also was in the film was your digital mall. For example, if I'm looking for a black trouser, well, why can the internet inform me that in the next ECE center the trouser will be available 5 minutes away? So therefore, this would be the challenge. And of course, it's again to the retailer to have an online what is in the store stock. This is really, really important for us. So, as I just said, we are mainly investing in big boxes. This is about more food and beverage, not Zara, hopefully. But we are kind of in a cloud at the moment. So for us, it's working quite well. But nevertheless, we have to talk to them too, also from the retailer side, also from the investment side, because we have managers on site. But we need to know the information too. So therefore, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, I think we had two interesting topics in our pre-talk. Everyone who has been ever watching a website of a shopping center, usually the information you find, what is it? Of course, who's there, which brands are there, but you can't push through to the stock. You just don't know where the shoes or the glasses or the watch is in stock. So that is one aspect, maybe also where you're working at, and I find that highly interesting, because what we do, online shoppers, we look at it. Well, we do not control where that T-shirt has been shipped from China to Hamburg, where in 5 kilometers of range, this T-shirt is on the shelf. And thinking about sustainability, it's not a sustainability conference, but I think that's something that we all should always have in our views. Maybe on that one, Henrie, are you looking into those kind of things?
Yeah, absolutely. The digital mall is one of the key projects that we're working on, and the idea is easy. You know, you think, as you said, you know, you sit at home, you search for a product, and if you start your search on Google, it'll return with the search results all the online retailers, hopefully also Otto, and which is a sister company. So you'll be receiving those search results, and then you can buy that product somewhere. But then, in fact, it's shipped from somewhere, you know, in southern Germany, from a central distribution point to a cross-dock near your home. It's offloaded a truck onto another truck and then transported to your home in a giant box. It's actually pretty stupid if you come to think that this product is most likely somewhere in the vicinity on some shop shelf. Difficulty in this is that and a lot of times these inventory management systems are not yet connected to the web. And I think that's going to be, for our industry, one of the real paradigm shifts. And that is the integration of inventory management systems on the web. Sounds very technical and actually very boring, but if you think about it, what it can actually mean is that you get that search result, and then you see this product. I mean, we're no longer in the era where prices on the internet differ from the ones in the offline world, right? That's you can forget about this. These times are over. So if I can see that this product is available 5 kilometers away from me in that store, and I can probably buy that product using PayPal. And now think of maybe another business model. One day, Uber will find that it's easier to transport T-shirts than people for insurance reasons and other obvious reasons. And they bring you this T-shirt at a time convenient for you. And then we're speaking about a delivery time of 20 minutes. I know that Amazon Prime does it in Berlin in less than 2 hours. But when is Amazon Prime starting in Hameln, in Siegen, in Wetzlar, in Passau? I'm skeptical that this happens in the next 2-3 years. And we've made an analysis, and if I look at the population of Germany, and this is just our company, right? We have about 65% of the German population living in a 30-minute drive zone around our shopping centers. I think that can be a very interesting value proposition if you start to crack that and be able to deliver products from the center to the homes of people. I mean, think of this. If you take the example that I've just outlined, that guy that buys this T-shirt, he has never been to the center. He didn't pick it up himself. It was delivered to him, even though it was sold in the center. Now, is that an online or an offline purchase, I ask you? Frankly, it doesn't matter. As long as I have somebody who pays my rent. And whether they do this out of the expansion budget or the advertising budget, I'm totally agnostic, as long as it's there.
Actually, it looked a bit as if this question was asked for. We received one question on the screen. How do you plan to track the store turnover if the product is bought, let's call it online on a computer? Yeah? Hearing that you, of course, said it may be merging.
It's a topic which is much talked about. You know, will we lose all the turnover? And is it actually a huge problem if people look for it, the showrooming phenomenon, look for it and then buy it offline, buy it online later? Frankly, if you create places where retailers want to house their brands, then that's fine for me. Overall, for those of you not so familiar with shopping centers, you have a fixed rent and a turnover rent. And for ECE, I can say that the turnover rent portion is less than 3% of our overall rent. So we're talking about actually peanuts. Yeah, if we ever lose that, okay, fine, it'll be a shame, but it's not going to kill our industry. Yeah, we are not in this business, and I think we need to rethink probably the way that what we think is an appropriate rent. Yeah, maybe we should think of it more as like a media type prices with Tausender Kontaktpreis. I don't know what this is in English. Sorry.
Displaying brands.
Yeah, so I think that is a very good example, and this is. I don't know if this answers the question properly, but I'm not so concerned about this.
Can the one who shot it Was that answered?
It's not, yeah, it's not really that there will be a new type. There's just, we have always used turnover as an indicator of how much rent somebody's able to pay. And depending on which category of, or which branch you're in, it depends how much turnover, how much of a turnover you can use up as rent. But think of the example of Apple. Apple is not trying to sell you a product in their store. They don't care. And still they're making fantastic turnovers in their store. Yeah, we're not doubting that at all. But they don't look at it from this perspective. And also, I mean, we just opened a Tesla store or an Opel store in one of our centers.
Unthinkable in 50 years to have a car dealer in the shopping center, right? I've seen one in Moscow.
For me, it was always weird to not have car dealers in shopping centers, because if you think of it, I don't know if you saw this morning, there was this category on what you spent in which category of as an average person during your life. And one of the biggest investment decisions in private consumptions that you make is buying a car. Now they make you go to this remote, totally off-piste locations and drag you into this sterile, huge car auto houses.
I think it's called Netterfeld in Hamburg.
Yes, terrible. And you walk through parking lots filled with used cars. They don't help you take a decision. I don't understand why you don't capture the bored husbands on a Saturday in a shopping mall, which are there, and take them into a store, and you'll have, a full screen around you, and you can walk through the engine, and you can touch the leather, and there are 15 cars just up the stairs to test drive in the parking lot. I mean, I would definitely do it if I was to sell cars. Or use your system, of course.
He sees the lead now to his Porsche client.
Just going back to the previous question, I think as an industry, we have to work ourselves in line with the consumer. The consumer does not see a business as separate channels. The consumer has no interest about our P&L and where the revenue is recognized as a business. What they care about is they're getting their product at a good and fair price, and they're getting a good level of customer service, and they've got the convenience factor. And depending on the individual, that individual may engage with our brand in different ways. And we can't say just because the end transaction happens in a specific location that is where the conversion happened, because there could be 8 touch points before that across different channels for that specific retailer that have led to that conversion. And that is getting more and more proven, and more businesses are addressing that. So I think when I first started this company with my co-founder 3 years ago, we were selling to the e-commerce director because we came from an e-commerce background. But what happens is, once our solution got implemented online, for it to work, the in-store sales staff had to log on and use it. And our first client was a complete failure because we sold to the e-commerce director, everything was working online, we supplied the kit to the guys in store, we went in and trained them, they didn't even know who we were, why we were coming in for training. They then said, why have we got to do this new service? We're already so busy serving customers in the store, you now want us to use this new technology and try and serve customers online. They didn't buy into it at all. We then realized as a company, we had to go in at CEO level or at a higher level and get the whole of the business involved, the retail channel, the distribution channel, the online channel, because all of those parts of the business service the customer, and the customer sees it as one. Where the advantage of a technology like ours comes in this regard of recognizing revenue is that if you make a purchase online, we can attribute that sale back to the individual salesperson because we know who the call was routed through to. So within Google Analytics or Adobe or whatever analytics systems you're using, we can see how many calls were taken by a salesperson. Did that lead into a conversion? If that then converted, that can be attributed back to the salesperson, attributed back to the store. So if there is engagement in the online channel, but it is then fulfilled by the in-store channel, that revenue can be recognized by the store.
So maybe testing myself, and I saw you. I liked your start with have you ever bought a new house online? Maybe to finish off this round, because there are some thirsty coffee faces, I would have said. What do you think, and that's to each one of you, what do you think is the most fascinating possibility or chance that specifically your industry, in the convergence of the online-offline story, that you see, and that you came across already, or that you want to apply in your business? Christine. Or Henrie could also start, if you think about it.
I think I see the biggest shift that we've seen is this going back to this one question, which is a business is no longer considering itself as channels. It's considering itself as one business. And I think if that remains core, then all other elements will start slotting into place. And I think we're seeing that retail, in my opinion, leads the way in that regard to a large degree. I found that automotive has started to follow, and now I found that property and hospitality has also started to follow that model, whereby, you know, they're industries that have been running the same way for so many years. They've been very profitable, but in the last 10, 15 years, they've really had a change in the way in which they operate, and they've had to embrace technology, and they've done it a lot slower. But what they are starting to do is removing barriers for the online and technology to be a competitor to the traditional model of the way in which they work. And I think if we apply that as technology as an enabler and use the online channel as another channel to widen the footfall, it's just widening the footfall in the demographic of our customer base, and we embrace that, we can then use technology to plug the gaps. But I think we all have to remain focused that the brand and the company is made up by the people that represent it. So although the technology is an enabler, without the people that actually represent the brand in the physical locations where that company is presented, representing the brand as ambassadors, we lose that identity, and we just kind of fall back into zeros and ones, which doesn't give us any kind of competitive advantage.
I think also from my point of view, there is a shift, even if it's small, until today, going back from online to offline. So there are also other ways around, like My Müsli, for example, or Mr. Specks, or something like that, who are going now to make the brand itself touchable. Also, we do have Zalando stores. I mean, there was a big opening in Cologne, and I think they were run over by clients. So therefore, this is also very, very interesting. Nevertheless, the main challenge is the retailer. They have also to understand that they do not treat it as two channels themselves. For example, PNC and Fashion ID, two channels, two different builds from my point of view. So therefore, they have to understand and work with us together, of course. So this is the challenge at the moment.
Yeah, for a long time, retail real estate was looked at, retail real estate investors thought, fantastic. I signed a 10-year lease. I can now lean back. If the retailer has any problems, I'll turn around and tell them, read your contract. You have to pay the rent. And I think these times are over. We are really in a symbiosis phase. Like, irrespective of your 10-year contract, if the concept doesn't fly, you'll go belly up sooner or later. So definitely, that has changed. And what this means is we are moving much closer to thinking retail. And in order to win in this game, you need to just be fantastic in serving your customer. And I think that propels a whole load of ideas, and a lot of them are being enabled by the technology that we have around us. The challenge for us will be to filter out, because you cannot do it all. You need to really focus, and that's a very interesting, challenging, but also very interesting task.
So let's slice the elephant and not do everything at once. Ms. Schomberg, I saw a question. Quick one.
Isn't it a matter of education, especially of the retailers? Because when you are offline, go to a shop, you want to have service, you want to have a lot of attention by the salesperson, and that is lacking to my point of view. And if this will change, it will help a lot to be a good retailer and then to be able to pay the rent.
So let's get some experts.
Yes, yeah, I think you're quite right. I think when we both go shopping, I think we all have the same experience when we go inside and say, well, I need the trouser, they haven't got my size, and they send me out. I mean, I can't understand this. So therefore, they have to have the inventory, they have to offer me, well, we will push it online to you at home. So therefore, I think you are quite right. I mean, I'm not the retailer. We have to work with them really, really close, and this is the main challenge also for us on the investment side. They have to, I think they understand, but keeping everything together and not to wrap a next thing around. Lease agreements have something to do also with the financial side, like who is paying or who is the shopping center itself. So therefore, it will be a big discussion, can fill a whole day here.
Okay, so we will not, the last one? Otherwise, I would not fill the whole day. I would send you two shopping and the rest of you to the coffee break. Thanks a lot. And we meet at, I think, 4:30. 1 hour. Thanks.